And we're asking the designers, do they know who bid, for these items? You surely know.
I do.
But you can't tell, obviously.
Well, I can.
Do you think or know if, her sons were ever tempted to bid on something?
I would expect that they are tempted, and I expect that they do, and I expect they have representatives who buy on their behalf.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of a Royal World podcast with me, Andrea.
And me, Emmy.
We have an amazing episode in store for you, as earlier this week we headed out of our little studio and into the world and visited the super exclusive VIP preview for Princess Diana's Style and a Royal Collection by Julien's Auction.
While the actual auction will take place in Los Angeles in late June, part of the collection was displayed here in London, where one of the most influential designers to have worked with the late Princess of Wales was present to discuss those designs.
Yes, we chatted to Jacques Azagury, the designer of Diana's famous 5 dresses, and Levi Palmer of Palmer Harding, who recently reimagined one of Diana's stunning Catherine Walker gowns.
Don't forget Martin Nolan, executive director and founder of Julien's Auction.
It was a busy day at the Peninsula, and we can't wait to show you a sneak peek. So for everyone listening to the podcast, feel free to head over to YouTube to see the pieces up close and tune into our extended chats with our guests.
The link to the YouTube video is in the description, and we hope you enjoy.
Levi Palmer, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast.
Pleasure.
We are here today at the Diana preview. The auction is happening very soon, and you're here because you reimagined one of Princess Diana's iconic Catherine Walker gowns.
That's right.
Now, why did you choose this gown?
Well, it all comes down to aesthetics, doesn't it? When we're given the option of choices to work from inspiration, being a shirt-focused brand, the color palettes just kind of worked with the heritage of our language. So the ideas of ivory, we also, in the past of our collections that we've shown at London Fashion Week, have had embroidery in the past. So we thought maybe this was a fun opportunity to reimagine this Catherine Walker dress in the form of a shirt dress and bring back some of the embroidery that we had done in our previous collection.
Now, how long was this process?
We were given, I think, about 4 weeks to complete everything. Yeah. It was very much a quick turnaround. So we were given the option of dresses to choose from. Thankfully, the Catherine Walker dress resonated with us. And so, we had to be very agile in terms of how we were designing it. We decided to go with one of our more iconic archival shapes, which is called the resilient dress. And we chose that shape because, one, it flatters everyone who wears it, but two, the idea of resilience and Princess Diana kind of set side by side. So it's just taking that name and running with it. And then, that was then followed by a process of choosing fabrics, designing the embroidery, and then, of course, we worked with Hand and Mock, who did Princess Diana's wedding veil, to help us embroider the dress for the reinterpretation of the falcon dress.
So when did you finish it?
We finished the dress May 3rd. Shipped it over to Julien's in LA to be photographed and then documented, ready for the auction. And now it's back in London 3 weeks later.
Are you excited for the auction? Because this is not the first gown you've auctioned.
That's correct, yeah. We did something with them last year. Again, inspired by a Catherine Walker dress. And it's just really exciting to see how a reinterpretation of classic style can really just, continue that narrative of Princess Diana's influence. But two, just to see who the audience is that's buying it and how we can reach a different audience as well. Because from last year's auction, we had people approach us afterwards saying, hey, I saw this dress, I didn't win the auction, but I was wondering if you could do something similar vein for me, which is quite nice.
How did you live that auction? Were you there?
We weren't there, unfortunately. We just had to see it going up on the online auction.
And do you know who bid the final bid on it?
No, that was
top secret.
Yeah, top
so you don't know where your dress is right now?
I don't know where the dress is right now, but I'm hoping it's being worn, which is kind of the fun part of it, is that doing the inspiration of the original is that the original ends up going into a collector's archive, and then hopefully the new owner then can buy something contemporary to wear to galas and parties, and then whenever she gets a compliment, she can then explain that, well, this is an interpretation of an archive piece that I have from the Princess Diana auction.
Will you be at the auction this year?
No, it's in
You'll be
LA
watching from
again.
afar.
Yeah, I'll be watching from afar. I would love to be in LA, but I think unfortunately this time of year we're a bit too busy with markets and everything else to validate a round trip to LA for a weekend.
I want to ask, when did your love for Diana kind of come about?
Well, she's always been like a gay icon. So I think really as soon as I came out, it was one of these things that like she was always appreciated because of all that she did for the LGBT community, especially during the AIDS crisis, like to show that graciousness and that fearlessness, really to be able to work with a marginalized group so publicly at a time when family were even afraid to touch ones who are dying. That gives her icon status to begin with, but then, of course, she also had such daring fashion for the background that she came from, and everything was done with such intent.
Yeah. Well, something I've learned whilst doing research for this auction is that she was actually very, very daring. I mean, some of the dresses were over the knee, which you would not see right now in this day and age, with the royal family. Now, do you have a favorite style of a current royal?
A current royal within the British royal family?
No, it could be any.
Okay, I would say like within the British royal family, I would probably lean towards Meghan. I think what she does is always with intent as well, and I think it has that American Hollywood flair, which is quite nice. We often dress a lot of the Saudi royal families and the Middle Eastern royal families, and one of my favorite royals to dress is Queen Rania of Jordan.
I love Rania.
Like so chic, so like hospitable, such a
She's timeless as well.
She's so timeless. Like whenever she wears something, it's wonderful because we see the response from her fans immediately. Yeah. Like whereas I don't think I personally haven't experienced that same response from any other royal we've dressed.
Well, I was going to ask you because you've dressed some incredible high-profile stars, and I was going to ask you who your favourite was. I don't know if anyone can top Rania, really.
Well, Queen Rania is amazing, but I would say Michelle Obama is our favourite. Yeah, Michelle's our absolute favourite. She was really the first high-profile person we dressed. We dressed her for her first public appearance post-FLOTUS, when she was allowed to wear foreign designers again. And Matthew and I were at home one evening and we saw a sale come in on the website, and it's like M. Obama, and we're like, no, that couldn't be Michelle. And so posted it a couple of weeks later. She was wearing our super shirt for a public appearance, and since then we've dressed her on numerous occasions. I think the most touching for me personally was for her birthday 2 years ago. She wore one of our shirts and just posted a picture of her on her birthday dinner in our shirt. Wow. It wasn't anything we like gifted to her, anything that she approached. It's just something that she'd bought.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, that people always think they get gifted these things and they just wear them, but you saw it come through. And, she went and bought your design, she looked for it, she researched it, she loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so sometimes we don't even know when she has a piece and she'll wear it. And it's like, that feels really, really good because she's the exact type of smart, stylish, like powerful woman that we love to dress.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, and good luck on the auction. Can't wait to see. It's aiming to hit around $4,000 to $6,000.
Yes, that's the starting price.
That's the starting price, exactly. There'll be much, much more. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So all these were done here in London?
All the embroidery was done in London.
With the dress already completely made?
No. So everything was made here in London. But we had to cut the cape bit of the dress first and send that to Hand and Lock, who then we also then sketched the falcons in flight. So there's 38 falcons, I believe, that are machine embroidered, and then they're reapproached with hand embroidery. So bullion, which is the gold embroidery thread, that then gives it a different, a richer depth to the embroidery. And they were great to work with because it was like I don't have much experience with that. I'm not a textile designer. I do shapes. And so they're like, rather than doing gold, which was my initial thought because it was more in like the inspiration, Like, let's make it a little bit more modern. Let's use a palette of like off-whites and ivories, and then just do touches of gold, which I think really is quite nice because then it's more textural than it is like literal of the motif.
What about the buttons?
The buttons are Murano glass buttons. So they're actually a button that we use quite frequently in our shirting, but clearly they're not the cheapest buttons. So we wanted to bring that in because you have lots of touches of pearls on the original Catherine Walker dress. And so in order to get some of those pearlescent finishes in there, we wanted to bring through the Murano glass buttons. But of course, all this was done almost digitally. I had to ask the team at Julien's, can you send me detailed shots of this? Can you send me detailed shots of that?
Does it have the same amount of birds then? Or does one gown have more than the other?
I think we have more birds, yeah. Well, no, she has the train.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, because she has loads coming.
Yeah, no, they definitely have more birds.
Stunning.
Yeah, but...
you chose a stunning gown.
Yeah, it works with the narrative of our brand as well. So, yeah, what's quite nice is like also the back is quite open, so the front goes into falls over the back and then becomes just like this cape. So as you move, it really opens up and you can see flashes of skin underneath, but not so much that it's going to be off-putting for like a woman of a certain age, or let's say a royal who can't show her bra strap. So.
Yes. Royal protocol.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Jack, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us in this amazing place. You designed Diana's famous 5 dresses, and you always made identical dresses so you could keep them in your archive as well?
That's right. Yeah. Whenever we used to make a dress, we would always make a replica for us. We only started doing it with the last 5 dresses with Diana, and we just thought it would always be a good record for us to have them as well. And I was very pleased that I did that because I had a true record of the dresses.
Yeah, of course. And now you've sold them to the Diana Museum, is that right?
Exactly.
How did that feel?
Just amazing. I was about to put them up into auction, and then Renee from Los Angeles called, and she said, I hear they're going into auction. What's the base price? Anyway, we negotiated, and I was very happy to sell them to her. Of course, I would have probably got much more money had it gone to auction. But for me, it was very important that the 5 dresses stay together as a story. So she has the 5 dresses. She has letters relating to those dresses, and some of the patterns, some of Diana's patterns, and actually one of the toiles that we fitted on Diana. So it's an important small collection to have together. And I would have hated them to just go one here, one there, one there. So that's why Renee has the famous 5 now, plus the dress that obviously Diana never got to wear when she was coming back,
And it must be so important as well that it's sort of for the fans and for Diana's supporters as well, that they can see it rather than them just becoming collector's items.
Exactly, because I could have kept them for myself, but then I just thought, what are they going to do? They're just going to be in the cupboard, and nobody's ever going to see them again. So I wanted them to still be seen for people, for the younger generations to be able to see these dresses, which helps with the story and the development of the princess.
Absolutely.
And you've talked about her 36th birthday dress, the black chantilly lace one, being your favourite. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Why it's so special to you?
Well, we made her a little blue dress for Swan Lake, which she absolutely loved, which looked phenomenal on her. The colour of the dress was the colour of her eyes. The length of the dress was perfect. Her legs were phenomenal at the time. So everything worked. And she was, she got, how much press she got anyway. But with that dress, the press was phenomenal. And she called me the next day and said, Jacques, I love that dress so much. It was wonderful. Thank you. I knew her 36th birthday was coming up in a few weeks from wearing that dress. So I thought, I'm going to gift her a dress, and I'm going to make an even more glamorous version of that dress. So we had the most beautiful chantilly lace from Paris, with the finest lace, with hundreds and thousands of beads and sequins in black, because by then it was her favorite color, and I love to see her in black anyway. She looks sensational in black. And we had all her final fitting measurements, we had her length measurements, so we just made it up and sent it to her. And she ended up wearing it for the Tate centenary for her 36th birthday. She had another dress to wear, but in fact, I think as a thank you to me, she ended up wearing that dress. And sadly, that was the last time that she was seen publicly at an event in an evening dress. And she sent me the most wonderful letter saying, you know, how overwhelmed she was, and opening the parcel, how thrilled she was. So, you know, she was always very good at letting you know.
Yeah, you must find it quite emotional, actually, even to think about this now.
Yeah. You know, still, you know, 28 years on, I still sort of, yes, I'm sometimes, you know, if I'm doing a lecture or something like that, I have to stop. I do get a little bit tearful, you know, but yeah, of course you do.
We should say, if you're listening to the podcast as well, that these are your sketches of the gown. Speaking of the Swan Lake dress, I mean, it was very daring at the time, even now a little bit daring. Yeah. I mean, do you think she was one of the most adventurous royals in terms of her style?
For sure she was. I mean, you know, particularly when you look at the famous five, it was completely away from the way royals usually dressed, and well, maybe a bit more now because she set the precedence for that. But you've got to remember, you know, it was the time of the supermodels. It was the time of Hollywood. It was youth. It was all, you know, and she was part of that. And she wanted to feel like that. She wanted to feel international too. And those dresses made her international. She could be anywhere in the world and, you know, stand with the other women.
And a lot of your designs for her are sleeveless. What was the rationale behind that?
Really, you know, dressing Diana was more about her, and I tried to keep the dress as secondary, so I would put as little fabric on her as possible. You know, she looked great. She had a great body, particularly when she was training towards the end, and really it was a more youthful look than being covered up with sleeves and long dresses and long skirts.
Did she always go with your vision, or did you ever have any disagreements over any outfits?
Only when she wanted to go super short on the skirts, on the dresses, yeah. Paul Burrell, her butler, and myself would say, that's as short as you can go. Yeah. hence the blue dress. She even wanted to go shorter than that on that dress. And we said, well, look, there's not much dress at the top, there's not much dress at the bottom. You'll end up with nothing in between, you know.
You're like the hemline police.
Yeah.
You're there with a ruler.
Exactly.
Yeah, if it's not too painful to recollect, I mean, I know we were just talking about a little bit her final years, but obviously you worked with Diana right up until before she died and had a fitting, I think, 2 days before her trip. I mean, do you recall that meeting, and what was what did she think of some of the outfits that she was trying on that day?
It was just the one dress we were making her. She was coming back to do a fundraiser. I think it was a Disney premiere.
Yeah.
So we decided we were going to make it really Hollywood and more daring than the other dresses, which it was. You know, it was really sort of cut down to there and slit up to there.
Oh wow! You went short and short.
Yeah. But it was a long dress and it had a train and again it was black, bugle beads all over, and it looked phenomenal on her. And yeah, she was really highly spirited and she was really happy at that time.
Oh, it's lovely to hear, isn't it?
It is, but then it must have been incredibly hard to have received that news.
It was devastating. You know, it's like, out of all the things that you could possibly imagine, is Princess dying in a car crash. You know, and it was kind of. It took me a while to actually accept it. You know, I was coming back from a club at 5 o'clock in the morning. A girlfriend called me and she said, have you seen the news? And I said, no. She said, and she told me Diana's dead. And she had to repeat it a few times. And I just hung up the phone, switched the TV on, and I was just numb. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, of course, it was just everywhere. But the second you switched on the TV, it was just right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But having had that personal connection as well, it must have just been...
Yeah. It was a real, and really, it didn't occur to me till I was at the funeral. I was put front row with, the funeral was just unbelievable. Everybody was there, from Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, Pavarotti, everybody. The whole royal family standing where you're all standing. And it was fine. I had Victor Edelstein standing next to me, who was also one of Princess Diana's designers. And we were chatting. And I was fine until the coffee came in. Yeah. And that's when I really started sobbing. And then I don't remember very much after that. Yeah. I only remember it when I went home. My friends were there. They had a TV on, and we rerun the whole thing. And then that's when it all started coming back. But it was a very surrealistic moment for me.
Am I right in saying that you kept Diana's final farewell dress out of the spotlight for a while? And what made you decide to finally show it publicly?
Well, I just thought it was a good sort of, particularly for the famous fire and for Renee, it was a good sort of finale to the story, really. Because I don't know if you've spoken to her, but the dress was unfinished. It still had the strap because the straps were the last thing we'd ever do on the dress when we were fitting. Yeah. So we said they're just pinned on, and she said, "Oh, well, leave them like that because it shows that it's unfinished. It's an unfinished story, an unfinished life.
Was that quite hard for you to leave it unfinished?
Kind of.
Itching to just
because we wanted to finish it, but then it makes sense really to leave it as part of the story.
Of course, yeah.
I wanted to take you back a little bit earlier than that. Can you tell us a bit about your first meeting with Diana, that first encounter and fitting? I mean, what was that like for you as a young designer?
It was quite unreal, really, because we got the call from she visited me at the London Designer Collections, and while she was on the stand, I saw her looking at one particular dress, and then she went off to introduce to the other designers. And then we get the call from the palace, would you mind if the princess comes and sees you at your atelier in 3 weeks' time? So I said, no, of course, we'd be delighted. So she came, and of course the dress that she chose was the one that she was looking at from the following collection, which was the blue dress with the stars on, which sold at the end of last year for £1.4 million. Which was, I think it's the highest price a dress has sold for at auction. But we got the call to the palace, and so we got a car. Solange, my sister, who's a partner in the business, came with me to the palace, and we were just sitting in Diana's quarters in the palace. This must have been 1985, 1986, just in disbelief, that we were there with the princess in this, in her private quarters in the palace for this dress. And that was the beginning of our friendship love story.
I mean, that does lead me to my next question, because, yes. I mean, the designer of the highest selling dress, 1.4 million at auction. I mean, congratulations, that is just unbelievable. Did it come as a surprise to you?
It did, but then, that dress says a lot. It says a lot about the period. It says a lot about her fragility at the time. It's almost like buying an artwork that speaks of the time of the period. Yeah. And that dress does all of that. It speaks of the time of the 80s, what she was going through. So it's a story behind that dress, yeah.
And we don't know who bought it.
We don't.
It remains private.
No,
are you curious?
I kind of am, but, I'm retired now, so I don't care.
Looking at the modern day royal family, some things have changed, some things remain the same. The Princess of Wales stepped out the other week wearing a very Diana-esque outfit to launch a ship up in Glasgow. I don't know if you saw that. What do you think of the way her style continues to influence the royals? Or do you think they've sort of taken a step back from her?
Become more conservative?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. No, I think she's still influencing fashion in a way, indirectly. There is the reference, obviously, anything that Kate's going to wear, she will be referenced to Diana if it looks anything similar. But yeah, no, I think she still stands in, any of the dresses that made for her, she could step out today and it would still be on trend, it would still be in keeping with, they were timeless. And I think she helped make them that,
Absolutely.
Was that part of her thinking when she came to you with a request? Did you always have that in your mind that it needed to sort of not just be fashion, but something classic that would...
Of course, all of those things came into, you know, into the workings of it. But I never designed anything specifically for her. You know, everything that we made for her was something from the collection, or from possibly at most from the following season. But she never asked me to design anything specifically for her, because she said she'd always find something that she'd want from my existing collection.
Sounds like a very straightforward customer.
Yeah, completely.
It's very humble as well, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You know, yes, we would change the lens sometime, or we would change the color of the fabric, but that's the extent. I would never show her sketches or anything.
And just out of curiosity, what do you think of Princess Catherine's style? Are you a fan?
I am. I mean, it took a long time getting there, but I think she's looking great at the moment. Her choices are good.
She likes a pantsuit nowadays.
Yeah, which she looks great in. You know, she's got those long skinny legs. She's got that skinny body. So she's you know, with any person, I think, in the limelight, it takes time to actually develop your own style and know what suits you as well. And I think she's doing very well.
I just have one more question, Jacques. I mean, thinking this must all evoke so many memories for you. How, when you think of Diana, could you sum her up in like 3 words? Is there a way to sum her up?
Well, there is. I mean, I think you know, for me, it was always a joyous moment. Every time, you know, as for all the celebrities that I've dressed, the only one I would always get excited about seeing again would be the princess. And we always had great moments together during the fittings when she came to the shop. Yes, you know, we had a couple of serious conversations from time to time, but most of the time, it was always a joyous moment for me.
Happy memories.
Lots of happy memories, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I could
you
talk
so
to you
much for
all
joining
day.
us, yeah.
And we're going to take a closer look at some of your pieces now.
Jacques, can you talk us through some of your sketches here, some of your work?
This here is the birthday dress. I made it for her for her 36th birthday. And you can see we have a swatch of the original fabric there, which would be important in selling it at the auction. And that's the dress that I made for her after she wore the Swan Lake dress. She loved that dress so much that I just thought, what can I do for her? So I thought I'm going to gift her a dress for her birthday, which was only a few weeks after that. And she ended up wearing it for the Tate centenary.
And did she write to you afterwards?
Yeah, she sent me a lovely letter saying I was overwhelmed when opening the parcel, and I was absolutely thrilled, you know, of finding this beautiful, beautiful dress. Thank you more than I can ever say.
That's so lovely.
Yeah.
And have you kept the letters?
Yeah, well, Renee's got them now, but I've had very good sort of proper copies made of them for myself, yeah.
And you can visit your famous 5 dresses at the Diana Museum.
Anytime I want.
Every time you want. Do you go often?
No, I've not been yet, because at the moment it's still a virtual museum.
Oh, wow, okay, nice. But one day.
Exactly. Well, they're going to be on show in Holland I think in September. They're doing a big exhibition at the Royal Palace. They have all royal dresses over the centuries. And for the British dresses, they've chosen the famous 5 of Diana wearing them. So I'm going to that for the first time. I'll visit them then.
Oh, fantastic.
You must be so proud because you're part of this sort of moment in history in terms of fashion, but also in terms of...
Well, that's what it's made me. Yeah, that's thanks to Diana, really, that I am part of history now, which, you know, and yeah.
Thank you. And if you if you need any guests for the Holland trip, you know,
exactly.
Okay.
Martin Nolan, you are the executive director and co-founder of Julien's Auctions.
We're the auction house to the stars.
We can see. I mean, my goodness, tell us about this collection. It's quite extraordinary, isn't it?
It's extraordinary and very exciting, and it's truly an honour for Julien's and for me in particular to curate this auction. We've worked on this for a whole year. We had a very successful Diana auction back in June of last year, and with such demand and such an outpouring of interest, we said, wow, people love Diana and they want to own something from her life and career. And so we spent the year curating this, and it's extraordinary because it's so diverse, but it speaks to everything what she represented: kind, caring, compassionate, thoughtful, loving, a mom, a wife, a mother, princess, a people's princess, somebody that was really in touch with and reality of sustainability before we knew what that was, and also the economic princess, because she was so important as an ambassador to various charities. Like the fundraising went up when Diana was associated with various charities that were important to her. She herself did an auction back in June of 1997. She sold over 70 dresses at the behest of her young son, Prince William, of course, the future King of England. And she raised over $3 million for charities important to her, like landmines, children's cancers, and AIDS patients, which was really important at that time. And that was a huge amount of money in 1997. Sadly, we lost Diana 2 months after that. And so we have all these items that she owned, that she sold herself, that went into the universe, and are now coming back slowly to auction again and selling for several multiples of what they sold for in 1997.
So the interest has only grown over time.
The interest has grown over time, and that's based upon, first of all, she's the most famous person in the world, most famous lady in the world, most photographed, beautiful at 36, so she hasn't aged at all. She is the mother of the future King of England, Prince William, of course. And also, think about the Netflix series, The Crown. You know, like, it's almost 28 years since we lost Diana. We only knew Diana for 16 years, from 1981 when she married until we lost her tragically in 1997. I'm talking 28 years since she passed. The Crown, you know, Netflix series, that introduced Diana to a whole new, younger audience. And they love her. They love her for what she had to go through, what she had to overcome, and what impact she had on the monarchy. She modernized the monarchy, and she made us all realize they're real people like ourselves. She was a real mom raising 2 sons, a real wife, all the tribulations that comes with family life, the joys, the ups and the downs. And that's all captured here and represented here. And she was a true style icon.
How difficult is it to acquire these pieces?
So, when you're selling dresses from Diana that sold in 1997 by herself for 30, 40, 50,000 US dollars, and then they're coming back and they're selling for 900,000, 1 million, wow. 1,140,000, that gets people's attention. A lot of these items Diana had actually given away to friends and people that worked with her, etc. They just had them as they were gifts from Diana, not realizing what value they actually held. And then when people read about these prices, they realized there's a huge demand for Diana. They're better served in a museum or, you know, new owners than being in this back of a wardrobe somewhere. And so they brought their items out. And so items came from Scotland, UK, Canada, California, Memphis, Tennessee, all over really. For this auction. So this is the biggest auction of Princess Diana ever. There's over 100 items that are just Diana alone. Of course, as part of the royal auction we're doing at Julien's on June 26th, we have over 300 items. So other royal members, Queen Camilla, Prince Charles, the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, Princess Margaret, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, all represented in this auction. But of course, the focus is on Princess Diana, which of course the royal family were well aware of that from the time Diana came into their lives in 1981. We were fascinated by her. She was 19 years of age when she moved into the palace. She turned 20 on July 1st and she got married on July 29th. She wore that Elizabeth Emanuel dress that weighed 20 pounds. The train of the dress laced 25 foot long. Can you imagine a 20-year-old child today being told this is what you're wearing to your wedding? Incredible. But we all remember that day. It was magical. It was when we got introduced to this beautiful young lady that became something so important, and we all feel a connection to Diana. We lost Diana in 1997. We have all these items now that keep that memory alive. And so what we're selling is the memory, part of her legacy, and each item tells a story. We're all nostalgic. We all have memories. I'm standing right here with the beautiful Kering dress. Belleville Sassoon designed this dress, a day dress, all those beautiful colours for her trip to Australia. I was living in Australia in 1988 when Diana came with Charles. Bicentennial year, huge celebrations, tall ships, fireworks over the harbour, and Princess Diana attending Prince Andrew Cathedral in Sydney. Amazing for me to be there. Tell me then that I'm going to be selling this dress in 2025. Of course, you couldn't make it up. And that is the reality. So that's a really special dress for me. estimated 200 to 300,000. I think this will be the #1 seller in this auction.
Have you already had, I mean, you've clearly got a lot of interest already. What has the reaction been like to these lots?
The reaction has been phenomenal. First of all, the media worldwide. We're doing interviews everywhere in the world, Asia, Australia, North America. We're here in London. We started this world tour in Seattle at the Museum of Pop Culture. Hugely successful, lines of people to see it. Then we came to New York. We spent a week in New York doing all the major TV shows. We did a day of exhibition at the Carlisle Hotel in New York, with Diana's favorite hotel in New York City. Now we're here at the beautiful Peninsula residence here in London. And from here, we go to the Museum of Style Icons in Ireland for 10 days. Diana is loved in Ireland, and so that'll be a hugely well-received exhibition. Then we'll go back to LA, and we will have an exhibition for 2 days at the Peninsula Beverly Hills, June 24th to the 26th, and then the live auction. But of course, people are bidding online already.
Wow.
So juliensauctions.com, they can see every item, see all the photographs of Diana wearing the items, carrying the items, handbags, shoes, hats, all the beautiful cards, the handwritten notes. One in particular is the lovely note from Mark Simpson, who was a footman at the palace, because Diana, what people don't realize is Diana moved into the palace a few months before the wedding day so that she could be trained and conditioned and prepared for the new life that she would be the royal princess and the future Queen of England, as we expected at that time. And she was lonely. You know, she was 19. Away from friends, away from family. And so Mark Simpson, the footman, like, he humoured her, and they had giggles together, and he brought her bowls of cereal. She dropped 5 sizes from when she was first measured for her wedding dress until wedding day. Wow. So like, he was trying to encourage her, bring her bowls of cereal day and night, just to eat something. Yeah. And he was conscious of that. And 2 days after her wedding, she sat down and she wrote a beautiful note of thanks to him and the memories. It speaks to her youthfulness, her naivety, but also how caring and considerate she was, and that she really respected and was thankful to people that helped her throughout that journey.
Can I ask, you know, when acquiring all these items, what was the one that made you like, yes, I got it? You know, what is the one most exciting item you have here?
It's the ski suit.
The ski suit. Yeah,
And my first question was, is the headband there? Because it's so iconic. And you're like, you think about Diana then, like 1985, and like there wasn't those big designers, the international labels attached to ski wear. This was made by Head, I believe a German brand, off the rack that she bought. It wasn't made for her. She was a regular mom, a normal wife. She was going skiing to Liechtenstein. She went again to Austria. She went again to Switzerland. Wasn't afraid to repeat. And that's what we loved about her, the sustainability. She was conscious of economics. There was a depression in the UK at that time, 80s, 90s. And like, so she didn't want to be seen as, you know, all these luxurious labels and, you know, new items of clothing every trip and every day she went out. She repeated. And that, you know, sustainability, we didn't sort of think about it. We're certainly very much aware of it now. The caring dress right beside me, she wore it on 9 occasions. The Escada power suit that she would wear to business meetings, empowering women. You can be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. She broke the glass ceiling by being seen like business-like and attending meetings and being of importance. That's really not that relevant, the conversation today. But back then in the 80s and 90s, women didn't feel empowered. They didn't think they could be CEOs of major corporations. Nothing holds them back today. And Diana is one of the ladies that sort of was, you know, broke through the glass ceiling, if you will. She knew what to wear. She was very brilliant at, quite shy, but she knew the items of clothing that she would wear could send the message that she wanted to deliver. And we love her for that.
And we're asking the designers, do they know who bid, you know, for these items? You surely know.
I do.
But you can't tell, obviously.
Well, I can. There are, well, I can tell you in general, in that museums love to own Princess Diana because she's a blue chip icon. That means that if they own Diana in their museum, people will come up, will show up. People will come through the doors to see these iconic pieces. We're all nostalgic. We all want to remember, like I remember being in Sydney and where I was when Diana came to visit. That was huge. And so like every piece is like that. Every piece has some sort of sentimental journey for the people that will look to buy them. So you have the fans, of course, who may not have unlimited wherewithal, but there's items in this auction at every price point. You know, there's handwritten notes and letters, there's shoes and bags and hats, estimated like 2,000 to 4,000, 4,000 to 6,000. Iconic pieces, documented, photographed, Diana wearing them. And with the shoes, especially in this auction, a lot of the shoes, a portion of the proceeds will benefit Muscular Dystrophy UK. So when people come to the auction, they love to, you know, they're buying something they don't need, but they're what they want, and then they feel good about it because a portion of the proceeds will benefit a charity. Then, of course, you have investors that are actually interested in buying these items because they're works of art in their own right. You know, not everyone relates to a Monet or a Picasso, Van Gogh, but we all wear clothes. We can all relate to clothes. We can also relate to this style, a cut, a color. And so investors realize that Diana is a blue chip in the collectible world. She, in 21-25, will still be talking about Diana, mother of the King of England, Prince William, future king. And so these items are considered an asset class. So they'll be looking, yes, they can own something, and especially when the market is down and the stock market is going sort of roller coaster, people take a flight to tangible. And so they would like to own something from Princess Diana. And she's a blue chip. Great conversation piece. You can see and touch and know where your money is, and also know that if you come back to auction in the future, you'll sell it for more than you pay for it today.
Do you think or know if, you know, her sons were ever tempted to bid on something?
I would expect that they are tempted, and I expect that they do, and I expect they have representatives who buy on their behalf, and that's understandable. I would too.
That's
especially some, you know, you see like, you know, the ski suit and the great photographs of them, or the shoes that she wore when she went to the dinosaur exhibition at the Museum of Natural History here. You know, like all of those, they're memories for them. It's their mom. Like, yes, she's the most famous person in the world, but yes, of course they would love to own some of these and preserve them for their own memories as well.
Maybe one day we'll be surprised if they do some sort of exhibition and some of your items reappear.
And that's very likely, and we would love that. And of course, you know, like, you know, Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle, they have a lot of the qualities of Diana, and they love to, you know, wear outfits, and they repeat outfits, which we love. And that's all qualities that Diana instilled in her sons. And, you know, we see them supporting charities, and we love them for that. And that auction that Diana did in 1997, that was at the behest of her young son, William. And so that was like Diana, like, reappearing in her son, and what she was important to her was important to him. And we love her for that. And we know that sentiment, kind, caring, compassionate, we need more of those people in the world, is instilled in her sons today.
Martin, we could talk to you all day. We could be here all day. We'd love to talk to you again once the auction's over.
Absolutely, I'd be so happy to, and I think we'll have lots to talk about on some new world records as well.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Martin, tell us a bit about how the princess's style evolved, because she started out really supporting British brands. She continued to as well, but we saw a bit of an evolution, didn't we, later in?
We certainly did. And what's interesting about Diana, like when she came into the royal family, you wouldn't have described Diana as a stylish person or a style icon. But she learned very quickly that that's what she wanted to be, that she realized that clothes are a uniform and they can send a message. And you think about the revenge dress, the message that delivered without having to say one word. But yes, she was really very loyal to Britain, very loyal to British designers. She wanted to shine a spotlight on them, give them an opportunity. And then as she became more and more famous, like she was wanting to learn from designers, and she would have great conversations with Catherine Walker about how would she be considered as timeless, in the sense that she didn't want Diana era. She didn't want to be pigeonholed into an era. She wanted classic, timeless. So Catherine Walker's designs sort of represented that. But then Anna Harvey, British Vogue editor, suggested to Diana that you're not just a British icon or a British royal, you are a global icon. And so you should start embracing the more bigger, well-known brands. And so we have Chanel shoes, the Prada bag, the Dior, the Choo Choo bag, the Dior bag that then became known as the Lady Dior bag, is still famous. You can still buy the bag today for several $1,000s. But like, yes, she was very conscious of who she was as a royal, how famous she was. But then she took that fame and she sent messages with what she wore. And she also was able to shine light on less fortunate people. And I always say, like, where are Diana's coats? We have over 300 items in this auction, over 100 Diana, not one coat. And it's because in January and February, when it was freezing cold here in London, she would have one of her staff or some of her friends go with her. And she would load up the car with coats and go around, and less fortunate people, she would give them coats. She didn't want any limelight or attention to that. She was just genuinely being caring and wanting to help others. So her fashion, like, we can see it through the timeline, and also because you think of, you know, she got married in 1981, the marriage started to break down in the early 90s, formally separation, and then you saw where items changed, like the hemline of the skirt went above the knee and the neckline went a little bit lower, and then of course then her divorce in 1996, when, you know, she was free to wear what she wore, and, you know, she didn't have the royal protocols that she had to adhere to, but she did all that very respectfully. And you think of the falcon dress she wore, designed by Catherine Walker, when she went to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates in 1986. The high neckline, the long sleeves, the beautiful falconry, because that's the bird that's important to Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. So she was very clever in what she wore, and a true style icon.
And can you tell us a little bit about this intriguing piece here?
Yeah, I love this piece. So it's a fan, of course, but it's not just a fan. You can see a photo of Diana wearing this with a beautiful Murray Abed evening gown that we actually sold. Diana herself sold it in her own auction in 1987, then it came back to Julien's, we sold it. But without the fan, now we have the opportunity to reunite the fan with whoever owns the dress currently. I believe it's a museum. And so it's just exquisite because it's the feathers, of course, and it has the Prince of Wales insignia. So this is something you talk about with the sons want to buy something. It would be lovely if William was to own this. He is the Prince of Wales currently. But that's a very special piece. Beautiful photograph, so elegant. Diana, with this, speaks volumes.
And that's everything from us today. Thanks so much to the amazing minds behind the incredible auction, and to you two for joining us. We'll be back soon.
In the meantime, get more from Hello with our entertainment podcast, The Daily Lowdown, available on Spotify, Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts. Bye!